The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was the largest room had ever seen. It stretched so far that she could not see the walls on either side. The ceiling rose high above, covered with lights that looked like stars. Thousands of seats filled the space, and in those seats sat beings from across the galaxy. Stood at the center platform with her partner, Commander. They wore their formal uniforms, dark blue with silver edges. Behind them, through the massive windows, Earth's ship waited in orbit. It was small compared to the alien vessels around it, but it had carried them across the stars to this moment. "The human delegation may now speak," said a deep voice. Looked up at the high table where the council elders sat. There were 5 of them. The elder had silver skin and 4 arms. The elder was covered in hard plates like armor. The others came from races so old that humans had only just learned their names. Counselor Bren sat in the center. He was tall and thin, with eyes that seemed to look through everything. He had led the council for 300 years. To him, 300 years was not very long. To humans, it was many lifetimes. Stepped forward. She had practiced this speech many times. She had studied every word. Earth's leaders had spent months preparing for this moment. "Honored Council," she began. Her voice was clear and strong. "I am Ambassador of Earth. I bring greetings from the human race. We come in peace, seeking friendship and cooperation." A soft sound moved through the hall. It took a moment to understand. They were laughing. Not all of them, but many. Small laughs hidden behind hands and claws and other appendages. Continued. "We have prepared a proposal for the Council, a defense agreement that would benefit all races. We have studied the threats that face this region of space. We believe that working together we can." "How long do humans live?" Counselor Bren interrupted. Paused. "Approximately 80 to 100 years, Counselor." More laughter. This time it was not hidden. 80 years, Bren repeated. He looked at the other elders. "The of a child, and they wish to teach us about threats." The elder made a clicking sound with his mouth. "I have furniture older than their entire civilization." The hall erupted in open laughter now. Felt her face grow warm, but she did not move. Beside her stood like a statue. His hands were clasped behind his back. Only could see how tight his fingers were pressed together. "Counselor," tried again, "if you would review our proposal, you would see that we have valuable intelligence about." "We have received your proposal," Bren said. He waved one of his 4 hands. A holographic display appeared, showing a stack of documents. 3,000 pages of human observations. How charming. He did not open it. He did not even look at it closely. "The Council appreciates your enthusiasm," Bren continued. "It is natural for young races to feel important, to believe they have something to offer. But you must understand, little humans, we have maintained peace in this galaxy for 10,000 years. We do not need advice from a species that just discovered fire." "We discovered fire long ago," spoke for the first time. His voice was calm but cold. "We have walked on our moon. We have built cities in the clouds of other planets. We have cured diseases that killed millions. We did all this in the time it takes your kind to finish a single meal." The laughter stopped. Bren's silver face darkened. "You dare speak to this council with such tone?" "I speak the truth," said, "as soldiers do." Put a hand on his arm. She could feel the tension in his muscles. She understood his anger. She felt it too. But they had come here for peace, not confrontation. "Forgive my colleague," said. "He means no disrespect. We simply ask that you consider our proposal. We have information about the Hollow Fleet that—" "The Hollow Fleet," Bren laughed, and the other elders joined him. "You come here with children's stories. The Hollow Fleet is a myth, a tale to frighten young ones into behaving." "It is not a myth," said. "Our astronomers have detected movement in the outer regions, energy signatures that match the historical records. We believe." "You believe?" The elder leaned forward. His armored face showed amusement. Humans have been in space for how long? 2 centuries. And you believe you can see things that we have missed for 10,000 years. We are not saying you missed anything, replied. We are saying that we may have a different perspective. Sometimes fresh eyes can. Fresh eyes, Bren shook his head. That is what you call ignorance now, fresh eyes. He looked at the assembly. The humans have fresh eyes, everyone. Perhaps we should let them run the council. The hall filled with laughter again, felt something break inside her, not her spirit, not her hope, something else, something that had believed the galaxy would welcome them. She looked at the proposal on the holographic display. 3,000 pages, 2 years of work. The combined knowledge of Earth's best scientists, strategists, and diplomats. They had not read a single word. May I ask a question, counselor? Said. Bren sighed, if you must. Why did you invite us here? If you did not intend to listen, why allow us to speak at all? The question hung in the air. For a moment, Bren's expression changed. Something flickered in his ancient eyes, perhaps shame, perhaps annoyance, perhaps nothing at all. Tradition, he finally said. Every new race is allowed to address the council. It is a formality, a courtesy, nothing more. Nodded slowly, I understand. She turned too, their eyes met. In that single look they shared everything. The disappointment, the anger, the sad truth that they had come so far for nothing. Ambassador, Bren said, you may now present your gifts. It is customary for new races to offer tributes to the council. Turned back to face him, gifts. Yes, tributes, signs of respect, Bren smiled. What have you brought us? Reached into his uniform pocket. He pulled out a small object and held it up. It was a flower, a single rose preserved in clear crystal. This is a rose, he said. It grows on our world. It is beautiful but covered in thorns. If you touch it without care, it will cut you. He placed it on the platform. That is our gift, he said, a reminder that beauty and danger often walk together. Bren stared at the small crystal. His smile faded. A flower, he said. The humans have brought us a flower. The laughter that followed was the loudest yet. Stood straight and waited for it to end. She thought about Earth, about the billions of people who had hoped this day would bring a new future, about the children who dreamed of meeting aliens as friends. She thought about all of it, and she made her decision. When the laughter finally died down, she spoke again. Thank you, counselor. This has been very educational. She picked up her documents from the platform, every single page. What are you doing? Bren asked. We are leaving, said simply. Leaving, the session is not over. For us it is, looked at him one last time. May you have a long and peaceful existence, counselor. May you never need what we came to offer. She turned and walked toward the exit, followed at her side. Behind them, the great hall fell silent. Nobody laughed anymore. The doors of the great hall were 20 meters tall. They were made from some kind of dark metal that did not recognize. As she walked toward them, her footsteps echoed in the sudden silence. Behind her, thousands of alien eyes watched. Some were confused, some were amused, most simply did not understand what was happening. Counselor Bren's voice cut through the quiet. Ambassador, stop. Did not stop. This is highly irregular, Bren continued. No delegation has ever walked out of a council session. It is against all protocol. Reached the doors. She turned around slowly, stood beside her, his face showing nothing. Counselor Bren, she said, you invited us here as a formality, a courtesy you called it. You never intended to listen. You never intended to take us seriously. We understand now. She held up the stack of documents in her hands. This proposal represents the work of our best minds, 2 years of research, solutions to problems you do not even know you have. You did not read it. You did not want to read it. Bren shifted in his seat. The council has many responsibilities. We cannot review every proposal from every young race that. Then you should not have invited us. His voice was calm but firm. You should not have let us travel across the stars. You should not have given us hope. A murmur ran through the assembly. This was not how young races spoke to the council. This was not how anyone spoke to the council. Continued. We came here offering partnership. We came here offering warning. The hollow fleet is real. We have seen the signs. We tried to tell you. Myths and legends, the elder said. You waste our time with stories meant to frighten children. Perhaps, said, or perhaps you have been safe for so long that you have forgotten what danger looks like. Stepped forward. Our people were not always united. We spent thousands of years fighting each other. Wars that killed millions. Weapons that could destroy entire cities in seconds. We know what conflict truly means. We know the cost of being unprepared. And yet you still exist, Bren said. So clearly you survived your foolishness. We survived because we learned, replied. We learned to put aside our differences when true threats appeared. We learned that pride is a luxury no one can afford when death comes knocking. Are you threatening this council? The elder rose from his seat. His armored body was massive, twice the size of any human. Do you dare threaten us? No, his voice remained steady. We are trying to help you, but you do not want our help. You see us as children, as insects, as something too small to matter. He paused. One day you will remember this moment, and you will understand. Bren waved his hand dismissively. The council has heard enough. If the humans wish to leave, let them leave. Their departure changes nothing. Nodded, you are right. Our departure changes nothing for you, but it changes everything for us. She reached into her uniform and pulled out a small device. It was a communication unit, the kind used for official transmissions. She activated it, and her voice echoed through the hall. This is Ambassador, speaking to Earth Command. Authorization code 773 Blue. I am formally announcing humanity's withdrawal from the Galactic Peace Initiative. All treaties pending ratification are hereby canceled. All diplomatic missions are to return home immediately. The hall erupted in noise. Voices shouted in dozens of languages. Some were angry, some were confused, some were laughing again. Turned off the device and put it away. What have you done? Bren demanded. His silver face had turned pale. You cannot withdraw from the initiative, the treaties. The treaties were never signed, said. We were here to sign them, but you made it clear that you do not want our participation, so we will not participate. This is foolish, another elder said. The initiative provides protection. Without it, your people will be alone, isolated, vulnerable. We have been alone before, replied. We have been isolated before. We have been vulnerable before. We survived then. We will survive now. Looked at the assembled aliens. His eyes moved across the hall, taking in every face, every expression. You look at us and see a young race, a small race, a race that lives fast and dies quickly. You are not wrong. We are all of those things. He stepped closer to the platform. But there is something you do not understand about short lives. Every moment matters. Every day counts. We do not have time to wait. We do not have time for politics and formalities and endless debates. When we see danger, we act. When we see opportunity, we take it. When we are ignored, we walk away. Commander, Bren said, his voice sharp, you forget your place. You are a guest in this hall. We were guests, corrected. Now we are leaving. He rejoined at the doors. A diplomat rose from the assembly. She was younger than the elders with kind eyes. Please, she said, do not do this. Not all of us think as the elders do. Some of us believe in cooperation. Some of us want to learn about your people. Looked at her. For a moment her expression softened. What is your name? Myra. Myra nodded. I hope we meet again someday under better circumstances. But today we cannot stay. Today we must go. She turned to the doors and they began to open. The darkness of space waited beyond, filled with stars. "One last thing," said, looking back at Bren. "The Hollow Fleet will come. We do not know when, perhaps tomorrow, perhaps in 100 years, but it will come. When it does, remember that we tried to warn you. Remember that we offered our help. And remember," added, "that you laughed." They stepped through the doors and did not look back. The walk to their ship seemed longer than before. The corridors of the station were empty. News traveled fast in the galaxy. Everyone knew what had happened in the Great Hall. Everyone was watching, waiting to see what the humans would do next. When they reached their ship, Pilot was waiting at the entrance. She was young, barely 25, but one of the best pilots in the fleet. Her face was tight with worry. "Is it true?" she asked. "We are withdrawing from everything." "Yes," said, "take us home." "What happens now?" Looked out the window at the massive station, at the ships of a dozen alien races, at the galaxy that had rejected them. "Now," he said quietly, "we wait and we prepare." The ship's engines hummed to life. Slowly, they pulled away from the station. The great structure grew smaller and smaller until it was just a dot among the stars. On the bridge sat in the captain's chair. Her hands were shaking. The adrenaline that had carried her through the hall was fading, leaving only exhaustion. "Did we do the right thing?" asked softly. Thought about the question. She thought about Earth, about the hopes of billions, about the future they had imagined. "I do not know," she admitted. "But we could not stay. We could not pretend that their contempt was acceptable. We have pride. We have dignity. Some things cannot be sold for convenience." Sat beside her. "The council will forget about us. In a month we will be a story they tell at parties, the little humans who walked out." "Let them tell stories," said. "Let them laugh. When the darkness comes we will be ready, and they will not." The ship jumped to faster-than-light speed. Stars blurred into lines of light. In seconds they were far from the station, far from the council, far from everything. Behind them in the great hall, Counselor Bren stared at the empty platform. The crystal rose still sat where had left it. He picked it up and looked at it closely, beautiful but covered in thorns, a warning disguised as a gift. He put it down and returned to his seat. The session continued as if nothing had happened. But something had changed, something small and quiet and easy to ignore. A seed of doubt had been planted. And seeds, given enough time, always grow. 3 months passed like water through fingers. On Earth, life continued as normal. People went to work. Children went to school. The news talked about the failed diplomatic mission for a week, then moved on to other stories. Most humans had never truly expected the aliens to accept them. The disappointment faded quickly. Ambassador returned to her office in Seoul. She wrote reports that no one read. She attended meetings that led nowhere. Sometimes, late at night, she would look up at the stars and wonder if she had made a mistake. Commander returned to military duty. He trained soldiers. He reviewed defense plans. He prepared for a war that he hoped would never come. The galaxy forgot about the humans, just as had predicted. Then on a quiet Tuesday morning, everything changed. The first attack came without warning. A colony on the outer edge of their territory simply stopped communicating. Ships were sent to investigate. They never returned. The second attack came 3 days later. A mining station was destroyed. 5,000 workers vanished in an instant. The only evidence was a brief distress signal, cut off mid-sentence. The third attack was not an attack at all. It was a message. A single ship appeared in the center of space. It was enormous, larger than any vessel ever recorded. Its surface was black and smooth, absorbing light rather than reflecting it. It hung in the void like a hole in the universe. The Galactic Council assembled for an emergency session. The Great Hall was filled with fear. Every seat was taken. Every eye was fixed on the holographic display at the center of the room. Counselor Bren stood at the high table. His silver face was pale. His 4 hands trembled slightly. "We have confirmed the identity of the vessel," he announced. "It matches the historical records, the designs found in ancient ruins across the galaxy, the legends we dismissed as myths." He paused. The words seemed to hurt him. "The Hollow Fleet has returned." The hall erupted in chaos. Voices screamed questions, demands, accusations. Some delegates ran for the exits. Others simply sat in stunned silence. The elder slammed his armored fist on the table. "Silence! We must have order." Slowly the noise died down, but the fear remained. "What do we know?" a delegate asked. "What are we facing?" Bren activated a series of displays. Images appeared in the air. Images of the Black Ship. Images of the destroyed colonies. Images of wreckage floating in space. "The Hollow Fleet is an ancient enemy," he explained. "They predate our civilization. They predate all our civilizations. 10,000 years ago, they swept through this region of space, destroying everything in their path. Then suddenly they vanished. We believed they were gone forever. We were wrong." "What do they want?" another delegate demanded. "We do not know. They have not communicated. They do not respond to any signals. They simply appear, destroy, and move on." "Then we must fight them," the elder declared. "We have the largest fleet in the galaxy. We have weapons that can crack planets. We will crush them." Bren shook his head slowly. "We have tried. The weapons do not work." The hall fell silent again. "Our energy shields fail against them. Our missiles pass through their hull without detonating. Our laser beams are absorbed without effect. We have thrown everything we have at them. Nothing works." An admiral rose from her seat. "That is impossible. Our technology is the most advanced in the galaxy. Nothing can resist all our weapons." "And yet," Bren said quietly, "this does." He showed another image. A fleet of warships, the pride of their navy, floating dead in space. Their lights were off. Their engines were cold. They had not been destroyed. They had simply stopped working. "The Hollow Fleet uses some form of energy that disrupts our systems. When they get close enough, everything shuts down. Ships, weapons, communications, everything." "Then what do we do?" someone shouted. "How do we fight something that cannot be fought?" Bren had no answer. The session continued for hours. Plans were proposed and rejected. Theories were discussed and dismissed. The greatest minds of a dozen races worked together for the first time in centuries. They found nothing. When the session finally ended, Bren remained in his seat. The hall emptied around him. The lights dimmed. Still he sat. Myra approached him carefully. She had been watching from the assembly, her kind eyes filled with worry. "Counselor," she said softly, "there may be another option." Bren looked up. "Speak." "The humans, they tried to warn us about this. They had a proposal, information about the Hollow Fleet." "The humans," Bren's voice was bitter. "They walked out 3 months ago, they from all treaties. They want nothing to do with us." "Can we blame them?" Myra asked. "We laughed at them, we mocked them, we treated them like insects." "I remember." "Perhaps they know something we do not. They seemed very certain that the Hollow Fleet was real. They had studied it. They had prepared for it." Bren was quiet for a long moment. His pride warred with his fear. For 300 years, he had led the council with absolute confidence. He had believed in the superiority of the elder races. He had believed that young species had nothing to offer. Now that belief was crumbling. "Send them a message," he finally said. "Request a meeting. Tell them we wish to discuss cooperation." Myra nodded and hurried away. The message was sent that same night. It traveled across the stars to Earth, to the small blue planet that the galaxy had dismissed as unimportant. The reply came 3 days later. It was short, just 2 words. "No response." Bren stared at the message for a long time. He thought about the Great Hall, about the laughter, about's calm face as she walked away, about's words. Remember that you laughed. He sent another message, and another, and another. Each time the same reply came back. No response. Meanwhile, the Hollow Fleet moved deeper into civilized space. Colony after colony went dark. Fleet after fleet was disabled and left to drift. The darkness spread like a disease, consuming everything it touched. They lost their outer territories in 2 weeks. They lost their mining operations in 3. Other races fared even worse. The galaxy was bleeding and no one could stop it. On Earth watched the reports come in. She sat in her office reading the casualty figures. Millions dead, billions displaced, entire civilizations on the brink of collapse. Entered without knocking, he placed a tablet on her desk. Another request from the council, he said. That makes 57. Did not pick up the tablet. They only want us now because they are afraid. Yes. They still think of us as children, as tools. They do not respect us. They will never respect us. Probably not. Looked up at him. Then why do you look like you want to help them? Sat down across from her. Because we can. Because we know how to stop the Hollow Fleet. Because millions of innocent beings are dying while we sit here doing nothing. They are not our people. They are people. His voice was gentle but firm. They made mistakes. They were arrogant. They were cruel. But they do not deserve to die for their pride. Turned to look out the window. Souls stretched below her, lights glittering in the darkness. Somewhere up there, past the sky, past the stars, a war was being fought. A war that would eventually reach Earth if nothing was done. We warned them, she said softly. We tried to help them, they refused. Yes. And now they want us to save them. Yes. Why should we? Leaned forward. Because if we do not, we are no better than they are. Because our strength means nothing if we only use it for ourselves. Because when the history of this galaxy is written, I want humans to be remembered as the species that helped, not the species that watched. Was silent for a long time. Finally, she reached for the tablet and read the latest message. It was from Counselor Bren himself. His words were humble, apologetic, desperate. Please help us. We were wrong. We are sorry. Put down the tablet and made her decision. The Council archives were the oldest collection of knowledge in the galaxy. They contained records from before the first great civilizations, before the first empires, before the concept of recorded history itself. Millions of years of data, stored in crystalline structures deep beneath the Council station. Counselor Bren had not visited the archives in centuries. There had been no need. The present had always been enough. The future had always been certain. Now, with the Hollow Fleet consuming the galaxy one system at a time, he searched the past for answers. Myra walked beside him through the dark corridors. The lights here were dim, powered by ancient systems that predated the Council itself. Their footsteps echoed against walls covered in symbols no living being could read. The human proposal, Bren said quietly. Do we still have a copy? Yes, Counselor. It was archived along with all diplomatic submissions. Bring it to me. Minutes later, Bren stood in a reading chamber, surrounded by holographic displays. The human proposal floated before him. 3,000 pages, 2 years of work. The combined knowledge of a species that had been in space for only 2 centuries. He had not read a single word before. Now, with trembling hands, he began. The first section was an analysis of the Hollow Fleet itself. The humans had gathered data from ancient ruins across the galaxy. They had studied energy signatures, attack patterns, and technological remains. They had built computer models and run simulations. Their conclusions were detailed and precise. The Hollow Fleet was not organic. It was artificial. A machine intelligence created billions of years ago by a species long extinct. Its purpose was unknown, but its behavior was consistent. It awakened periodically, swept through the galaxy, eliminated all advanced civilizations, and then returned to dormancy. The last awakening had been 10,000 years ago. The cycle was beginning again. Bren felt cold as he read. The humans had predicted this. They had seen the signs that the elder races had missed. They had tried to warn the council. And the council had laughed. He continued reading. The second section was about weapons. The humans had analyzed why conventional technology failed against the Hollow Fleet. The machines used a form of energy absorption that neutralized most attacks. Shields, missiles, lasers, all were useless. But not all weapons. The humans had discovered something in the ancient records, a reference to a battle fought 10,000 years ago, a battle won. Someone had defeated the Hollow Fleet before. Bren's hands shook as he searched for more information. The records were fragmented, damaged by time, but the pieces were there. A young species, barely space-faring, had faced the machines when all the great civilizations had fallen. They had fought with crude weapons and desperate courage, and somehow, against all logic, they had won. The name of that species was lost. There was unknown, but their victory was real. The humans had studied this ancient battle. They had analyzed the tactics, the weapons, the strategies. They had found patterns that the elder races had missed, and they had developed a plan. It was in the third section of the proposal, a detailed strategy for fighting the Hollow Fleet, not with energy weapons but with kinetic force, not with shields but with speed, not with individual ships but with coordinated swarms. The machines could absorb energy, but they could not absorb solid matter moving at high velocity. They could disable ships that came close, but they could not disable projectiles launched from a distance. The humans had tested their theories. They had built prototype weapons. They had run simulations showing success rates above 90%. And they had brought all of this to the council, asking only for the chance to share it. Bren closed the display. He sat in silence for a long time. Myra watched him with worried eyes. "Counselor." They knew. His voice was barely a whisper. The humans knew how to stop them. They came to us with the answer, and we dismissed them as children. Can we use their strategy now, even without their help? Bren shook his head. We do not have the weapons. We do not have the training. Everything in our military is based on energy technology. Changing would take years, decades, time we do not have. Then we need the humans. The humans do not answer our messages. Can you blame them? We mocked them. We insulted them. We called their gift a flower. Myra moved closer. The ambassador. She seemed reasonable. Perhaps if we sent someone to Earth in person. Perhaps if we showed genuine humility. Humility, Bren laughed bitterly. I do not know if I am capable of such a thing. Then learn, Myra's voice was sharp. Millions are dying, counselor. Your pride is not worth their lives. Bren looked at her. For a moment anger flashed in his eyes. No one spoke to him this way. No one dared. Then the anger faded, replaced by something else. Shame, perhaps, or simply exhaustion. You are right, he said. Prepare a ship. I will go to Earth myself. The journey took 3 days. 3 days of traveling through space that had once been safe and peaceful. Now it was filled with debris, refugees, and fear. Bren saw the destruction firsthand. Colony ships packed with survivors. Military vessels limping back from failed battles. The proud fleets of the elder races reduced to scattered remnants. When he finally reached Earth, he was surprised by what he found. The human was small, blue and green and white, surrounded by a ring of defense platforms that seemed primitive compared to Council technology. A handful of ships patrolled the orbit, nothing like the armadas of the great races. But there was something else, something harder to define, a sense of readiness, of preparation, as if the humans had been waiting for this moment. Bren's ship was escorted to a landing platform in the city called Seoul. He stepped out into the cool air of an alien world, and found Ambassador waiting for him. She looked exactly as he remembered, small by standards, young by any standard, but her eyes were steady and her posture showed no fear. "Counselor Bren," she said, "I must admit I did not expect to see you here." "Ambassador," he struggled to find the words, "I have come to apologize." "Apologize?" "For everything, for the laughter, for the dismissal, for the arrogance." He looked at the sky, at the stars he had traveled across to reach this moment. "I have read your proposal, all of it. You were right about everything." Was quiet for a moment. "It took the death of millions to convince you." "Yes." He did not try to excuse himself. "I have been alive for over 1,000 years. I have seen civilizations rise and fall. I believed that age brought wisdom. I was wrong. Sometimes the young see more clearly than the old." "What do you want from us, counselor?" "Help." The word felt strange in his mouth. He had never asked for help before. "We cannot defeat the Hollow Fleet alone. We do not have the weapons, we do not have the knowledge, but you do. We offered that help 3 months ago." "I know, and I refused it. That was my mistake, my failure." He looked directly at her. "I am asking now, not as a counselor, not as a representative of the elder races, as a being who has finally realized that he was wrong." Studied him for a long moment. Behind her, Commander appeared, his face unreadable. "The council laughed at us," said. "They called us insects. They said we were too young to matter." "I know. And now you want us to save you." "Yes." Looked at, something passed between them, a conversation without words. Finally spoke. "We have already made our decision, counselor. We made it before you arrived. We will help." Bren blinked. "You will." "Not because you deserve it. Not because we have forgotten what happened in the Great Hall, but because we are human, and humans do not abandon others in their time of need, even when those others have treated us poorly." She turned toward the building behind her. "Come, there is much to discuss and little time. Admiral is waiting." Bren followed her, his ancient legs struggling to keep up with her quick pace. Behind him, the sun was setting on Earth. The sky turned orange and red and purple. It was beautiful in a way that sunsets never were. For the first time in centuries, Bren felt something he had almost forgotten. Hope. The war room beneath Seoul was nothing like Bren expected. There were no elegant displays, no crystal interfaces, no ancient symbols of power. Just gray walls, simple screens, and humans rushing everywhere with tablets and papers. Admiral stood at the center of it all. She was older than N, with gray hair cut short and a face marked by decades of service. Her eyes were sharp and calculating, the eyes of someone who had fought real wars. "Counselor," she said, nodding once, "welcome to Earth. I wish the circumstances were better." "As do I, Admiral." Activated a large display. A map of the galaxy appeared, dotted with red markers. There were so many of them, dozens, hundreds. Each one represented a system lost to the Hollow Fleet. "The enemy is moving faster than expected," explained. "At their current rate, they will reach the core systems in 3 months, Council space in 4, Earth in 6. "What is your plan?" Bren asked. "We stop them," said it simply, as if it were obvious. "We have been preparing for this possibility for years. Our weapons are ready, our ships are ready, our people are ready." "Your weapons?" Bren hesitated. "I read the proposal, kinetic projectiles, physical impacts instead of energy weapons." "Correct. The enemy absorbs energy. They cannot absorb metal moving at a significant fraction of light speed." "But your ships, they are so small, so few." Smiled. It was not a kind smile. "Size is not everything, counselor. Sometimes the smallest stone can bring down the largest giant." Over the following days, Bren witnessed something he had never seen before. Human efficiency, human determination, human stubbornness. The fleet assembled in Earth orbit, 50 ships. That was all. 50 vessels compared to the thousands that the elder races had lost. It seemed impossible. It seemed like suicide. But the human ships were different. They were fast, designed for speed rather than armor. They carried no energy weapons, only mass drivers capable of firing dense projectiles at incredible velocities. Their crews were small, trained for independent operation rather than coordinated formations. And leading them was Captain. She was young, even by human standards, 28 years old. She had never fought a major battle. She had never even seen the Hollow Fleet. But she had studied them. She had trained for them. She had prepared for this moment her entire career. "Are you afraid?" asked her on the night before the fleet departed. Considered the question carefully. "Number should I be?" "You are going to face an enemy that has destroyed every fleet sent against it, an enemy that ended civilizations, an enemy that cannot be stopped by any known weapon. Except ours. You are confident in the plan." "I am confident in my people." Looked out the window at the ships gathering above. "We are not strong like we are not armored like we live short lives and die easily, but we adapt. We improvise. We refuse to accept defeat." The Council thought those were weaknesses. The Council was wrong. The fleet launched at dawn. Earth watched them go. Billions of eyes turned toward the sky. Messages of support flooded the communication channels. Prayers were offered in 100 languages. And remained behind. Their war was diplomatic now, coordinating with the remnants of the Council forces, organizing refugee operations, preparing for whatever came next. Bren stayed as well. He wanted to go with the fleet to witness the battle firsthand, but refused. "You would only slow us down," she said bluntly. "Stay here, keep the peace. Make sure there is something left to save when we return." The fleet traveled for weeks, moving through space that grew darker with each passing day. They passed refugee ships by the thousands. They passed the wreckage of great battles. They passed worlds that had gone silent forever. Finally, they reached the Hollow Fleet. Captain stood on the bridge of her ship, the Dawn, and looked at the enemy for the first time. The black vessels hung in space like wounds in reality. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands, each one massive beyond comprehension. "All ships report ready," her first officer announced. "Begin the attack." The human ships scattered like seeds in the wind. They did not form lines. They did not maintain formations. They moved independently, each captain making their own decisions, adapting to the moment. The Hollow Fleet responded. Dark energy pulsed outward, the same force that had disabled every enemy they had ever faced. Ships should have gone dead. Lights should have flickered out. Crews should have been left helpless in the void. But the human ships kept moving. They were too far away. The disabling pulse had limited range. The humans had calculated exactly how close they could get and had planned accordingly. The mass drivers fired. Dense projectiles screamed through space at velocities that made light look slow. They hit the black ships and did not pass through. They did not get absorbed. They impacted with forces that cracked hulls and shattered systems. The Hollow Fleet, for the first time in 10,000 years, took damage. Watched as one of the massive vessels began to break apart, then another, then 5 more. "It is working," her first officer breathed. "It is actually working." "Do not celebrate yet. We have a long way to go." The battle lasted 7 days. 7 days of constant movement, constant firing, constant adaptation. The human ships danced around the enemy, never staying still, never getting close enough to be disabled. They took losses. Ships were destroyed when they misjudged distances. Crews died when their projectiles ran out and they had to get closer to reload. But they kept fighting. On the 4th day, the Hollow Fleet tried to retreat. For the first time in recorded history, the machines fled from battle. The humans pursued. On the 6th day, reinforcements arrived. Not human ships, but vessels from a dozen other races. They had followed the humans, watched the battle from a distance, and finally understood what was happening. They joined the fight with modified weapons, copying the human strategy as best they could. Most of their shots missed. Many of their ships were disabled when they got too close, but they were there. They were fighting. On the seventh day, Captain gave the order to fire the final volley. The last great vessel of the Hollow Fleet crumbled under the impact. Its black hull split open, revealing nothing inside but darkness and silence. The machines that had terrorized the galaxy for billions of years finally fell still. The war was over. In the aftermath, Bren stood in the great hall of the Galactic Council. The seats were mostly empty now. So many races had been devastated. So many civilizations had been reduced to remnants. But there were survivors, and there was hope. Ambassador stood at the center platform, exactly where she had stood months ago. This time, no one laughed. This time, everyone listened. "We did not come here for gratitude," she said. "We did not come here for recognition. We came here because it was the right thing to do." She looked around the hall. "Some of you still see us as children, as a young race that got lucky. Perhaps you are right. We are young. We do not have your technology or your history or your experience." She paused. "But we have something else. We have the ability to see things differently, to question what everyone accepts, to find hope where others see only despair." Commander stepped forward. "The Hollow Fleet is gone, but the galaxy is wounded. Rebuilding will take generations. We offer our help not as subordinates but as partners, equals." Bren rose from his seat. The hall turned to look at him. For a moment he said nothing. Then slowly he walked down to the center platform. He stood before the representatives of the race he had once called insects. And he bowed. "On behalf of the Galactic Council," he said, his voice echoing through the silent hall, "I apologize for our arrogance, for our contempt, for every mistake we made. You offered us friendship and we answered with mockery. You offered us warning and we answered with laughter. You offered us a flower and we did not understand its meaning." He straightened and looked into his eyes. "You saved us, not because we deserved it, but because that is who you are. Today, I understand what it means to be human, and I am honored to call you our allies." Smiled just slightly. "We told you, Counselor, the rose has thorns, but it is still beautiful." She extended her hand. Bren looked at it for a moment, then reached out with one of his own. They shook hands, human and young and old, small and tall. In that moment, something new was born. Not just an alliance, but a friendship. Not just cooperation, but understanding. The galaxy had changed forever. And at the center of that change stood humanity, small, young, fragile, and absolutely unstoppable. Above them, through the great windows of the hall, the stars shone bright. Somewhere out there, the wreckage of the Hollow Fleet drifted in silence, a reminder of what had been faced, a promise of what had been overcome. On the platform, the crystal rose still sat where had left it months ago. It caught the light and sparkled like hope.